Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode in the Art of Thomas video podcast thing that I'm doing, where I talk about the articles that I am publishing in my own website, the Art of Thomas.wordpress.com, Thomas with no H. And also, I need to show you, I started a Substack. So if you go to artofthomas.substack.com, you can join the mailing list, and then you'll get all my articles. You'll get them straight to your email. So that's another way. If you want to, if you don't want to go to the website to look for them, you can just get them to your email that way. Anyway, today's topic of discussion is Bitcoin Layer 2. This is going to be the part 1. It's just going to be a little overview. Now, I have been hinting at this subject ever since I started creating content around the crypto space. Okay, so it is finally time to dig deep into this concept, and it's a very difficult concept to understand. So don't worry if you don't get it all at once. Don't worry. It's difficult. It took me a long time to understand. I don't understand everything fully yet, and honestly, I don't think there's anyone in the world who understands the implications that this technology is going to have in our society in general. You know, the other day I posted on Twitter, I make a little tweet asking the question, how many disruptive technologies can you throw into a society without changing it completely? And the most common answer was, you only need one. And I do believe blockchain, especially Bitcoin, is a revolutionary and extremely disruptive technology bound to change many things, most of which, of course, we cannot foresee. And that's why I believe in the times that we're living, we need to pay a lot of attention to everything that's happening. So anyway, what is Bitcoin Layer 2? And even before we can ask that question, what is layered money? Okay, so something that you might that it might help you to get your head around the concept of layered money. If you think before I think, when was it, the 70s, when we came off the gold standard. So back then, every dollar that you got, every paper dollar, was redeemable by its value in gold. So the bank held the gold, and they would issue the paper money. So you can think of, at that time in history, gold was the base layer of the money, but because gold is heavy and it's not easily divisible, it doesn't work as currency. It works as a store of value. So back then we had gold as the base layer, and then we would issue paper dollars that would have their value represented in gold, and we would do our everyday transactions with that. So most people did not own the physical gold. Some of the people might even have been completely unaware that their paper currency was actually represented in gold. And that system worked. It worked quite well until we broke the relationship between the paper money and the gold, and that's when the system that we have now began. And now we have the paper money, which is backed by nothing. And that's been a crazy experiment. So far, it doesn't seem to be the best. If you look at when the dollar started, I think today the dollar has lost over 90% of their value, and that's more likely to continue to decrease, especially with all the inflation and all that stuff that's happening. So it's been an interesting experiment. Most people would consider it a failed experiment. And that's what Bitcoin is here to try to solve. So the idea is that Bitcoin can act as a base layer, and on top, you can have other layers that can help Bitcoin do more stuff. And now here we need to go back. So, okay, that was just to explain the concept of layered money. Now let's grab that concept and explore it in the context of Bitcoin. And to do that, we need to go back to not the very beginning of Bitcoin, but because if you look at the world today, if you go to CoinMarketCap, you're gonna find that there's, I don't know, over 13,000 or something like that coins. And of course, a lot of those are joke coins, are meme coins, are scams, but there's also a really cool, a lot of really cool, interesting projects. And why are there so many coins, right? So for this, we need to recap on something that I spoke in a previous video. We need to explore the moment in which Bitcoin was already established and the new coin came into being, Ethereum. No, Ethereum came into the scene, and I always come to this point in the crypto history because for me it's the best way to explain a lot of what happened after. So why did the Ethereum crowd created their own coin? And the reason is that Bitcoin introduced in a massive and very effective way the concept of digital currency, a currency that it's only exists in the digital realm. And a lot of people started thinking that, yes, it's great, but this also means that we can do a lot of really, really cool stuff because you can add a programming language to the currency, and then you can do all sorts of things. You can do what they call smart contracts, which are pieces of code that work automatically and they integrate with your money. So like a store, you could make an online store where if I pay you, that automatically it fulfills the order, it sends it to the warehouse, and all that stuff would happen automatically and in a decentralized way, which is what makes it differently from the system that we use today. It's a bit hard to understand, but today we see that technology being applied to a lot of games in the crypto space, a lot of DeFi, which is all stuff. The DeFi is short for decentralized finance, and it's all stuff that I'm going to get in future videos. To keep this one short, let's just say that, okay, Ethereum wanted to add the ability to create more complex codes to allow for more things to be able to be built on it. And we came into a divide in the crypto community. Some people said, no. You don't understand that in order for this to work, we need to make it work in different layers. And it's very, very important that the base layer is as simple as possible. And we focus on make it as much decentralized and as much robust and strength and hard to attack as possible. Like those were the key elements of Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin crowd was saying we need to keep it that way. It's very, very important that it's that way because we want this to be the base layer for the whole economic structure of society. So they were basically saying, let's wait until we have enough technology to create a second layer on top of that one. And then on the second layer, we can experiment and we can do all this stuff and we can build stuff on top. But we need the most robust and strong surface that we can then build upon. And the Ethereum crowd basically did not agree. So they created their own coin, which would allow for all this innovation to be done at the base layer. And for a long time, it worked. If you look at Ethereum for the last years, it's been outperforming Bitcoin in terms of market cap. So it's been gaining more traction than Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin is still the biggest by a large margin. But over time, Ethereum is getting closer because the ability for smart contracts drove a lot of innovation towards Ethereum. However, many people are saying that this comes at a cost and that there's a lot of problems with Ethereum at the level of decentralization and governance. So they're saying that this is creating very few people getting a lot of power within the network, and that creates risks. And so far, Bitcoin seems to be lagging behind, if you will, in the innovation process against all the other coins. And well, yes, we would need to explain. So Ethereum launched with its own smart contract platform, and then we started seeing a lot of other coins appearing with also giving their own spin in the smart contracts platforms. So we're getting a lot of competitions of all these coins that offer the ability to create smart contracts, but they're all doing it at a base level, and that they all have these intrinsic risks, and they have to make trade-offs that Bitcoin was not willing to do, because Bitcoin wants to be decentralized, fair, permissionless, censorship-proof, all this stuff that is really important for the entire society, for like human rights perspective. Is very important that the base layer was kept in the way Bitcoin was kept. And during these whole years, we've been waiting for the technology to develop to the point that we could finally have layer 2 on Bitcoin, and we can finally start building all these smart contracts, all these crazy cool things that all the coins are doing. We can now start building them on Bitcoin. Finally, it started, well, I don't know if this year, but this year is when it's starting to get more traction. And even though most of the people in the space are not talking about this, for me is the most exciting thing that's happening. Because what you will start to see from now on is all the cool stuff that it sits on Ethereum, all the DeFis, the games, the platforms, all that is going to start to appear on the layer 2 that sits on the most decentralized, robust blockchain we have. And then to each user, they will have to ask themselves the questions. Do I want to, once we have the same platforms in all the different networks, you're going to have to choose which one you're going to use. And at least for me, I believe that most people would prefer the ones that are sitting on the most robust base layer. And that's why I believe in the long run, the decision to not trade off security and decentralization for being able to do smart contracts quicker. So I think the Bitcoin approach is the right approach. That's why I compare it in the article with the Greek fable of the hare and the tortoise, and how the other coins were really quick to go out and create all this stuff, which is great. It's a lot of innovation. They did a lot of experimentation, and that's great. Now we can grab that and put it into Bitcoin. Well, it can stand and be robust, and take away all the risks that come when you do all the changes in the base layer. So that's pretty much what I want. I want to put those thoughts out to see if they can inspire you to start considering these things in your mind. I know it's a very tricky concept, layer money and layered blockchains, but it is very important, especially if you're starting to invest or trade in the crypto markets. It's very important to understand what makes each crypto different and what makes Bitcoin so unique. Because of all the coins out there are things that make Bitcoin unique. And it's very important. And I think as we move forward in time, it's going to be more and more important. But anyway, that's topics for another video. Today, I just wanted to do a little overview of what layer 2 means. And then for those who are watching the video, I'm just going to quickly show some of the apps that are already live and working on the Bitcoin layer 2. So we have Sovereign. Sovereign is really cool. It's DeFi, decentralized finance. So here you can use your Bitcoins, you can lend them out to people and earn an interest. You can yield farm. If you don't know what this is, don't worry, I'll make videos on each thing separately. But basically you can do stuff with your Bitcoin, and this whole platform, all this that you're seeing now, works on a layer 2, and it rests on top of Bitcoin, which is incredible. It's just fascinating to me. Then we have Money on Chain, which they release their own digital assets. All of them rests upon Bitcoin, which is mind-blowing. We have the Lightning Network, and this helps Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is, some people say Bitcoin is slow and the transactions are high, and it's true. But once you use the layer 2 of the Lightning Network, then becomes incredibly fast, and the transaction costs are less than a cent. This is what they use in El Salvador, which Bitcoin became legal tender, which means every single vendor over there, it's compelled to accept Bitcoin as payment, and they use the Lightning Network. So all the payments go instantly. You pay no fees, or less than a cent in fees, and the settlement of the transaction is instantaneous, and there's no middleman. It all works automatically. It is really the future. Then we have the Liquid Network, which is another layer 2, and this one offers interesting things you can do. Of course, I will go more deep into all of them in the future, but just for you to have some ideas, these are all the companies that are backing this particular layer 2. There's different layer 2s, so that's another thing we would need to talk at some stage. But yeah, it's fascinating. Then we have City Coins, which is another project that's all been launched on top of Bitcoin. Here they explain how the smart contract works. It's the stuff that has been happening in the Bitcoin space. It's incredible, and there's so few people are paying attention to it. And this is what my Substack, but let's check it out. Yeah, so I do think right now everybody's paying attention to what's happening on the altcoin space. They're all after Ethereum and Solana and Terra, and I don't know what other token out there. And for me, a lot of people are just missing what's happening on Bitcoin, and that's why I wanted to make the video. I'm sorry I went too long. I'm sorry I cannot. It's difficult for me to express all my ideas, and I hope the more I can do this, the better I get. I hope. We'll see. That remains to be seen. But anyway, at least this gives me motivation to keep learning, keep researching, and try to get better at explaining, at writing, at making the videos and the podcast. And I really hope this is helpful. And yeah, I can only try and do better every time. So I'll see you in the next one, hopefully. If you have any questions, you can always send an email to artofthomas@pm.me. Remember, Thomas with no H, because my name comes from the Spanish language. So with that said, have an amazing day. I'll see you in the next one, hopefully.